Hey, sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown live post-game show. In fact, I believe it's the first post-game show we've had all season long. So Merry Christmas, first of all. Hope everyone's having a great day and a great holiday season going into New Year's now. A really great day of basketball. I was kind of traveling for a lot of it, so I didn't get a chance to see a ton of the games. But I definitely want to focus on the game we just saw, which was the battle for Los Angeles. It's very, very exciting. And I also want to make sure I keep tabs on what's happening in the chat and on both Periscope and YouTube, because obviously I want to answer some of your questions as well and have a conversation. So let's talk a little bit about the game, shall we? It was a really intense, great playoff atmosphere, one of the very few I feel like we've had all season long. And I'm just kind of curious, is it just me, or do a lot of you guys out there feel like it's hard to watch these games for some reason? And there's no one who wants to watch more basketball than I do, I don't think. But after like 5, 6, 7 minutes of a typical NBA game on a typical night, I just find myself kind of wandering around a little bit, not paying attention as much to the games. I can't quite figure it out. This, though, my friends, was not one of those games. This was really intense from the start. And everyone was healthy, which was nice as far as we could tell. LeBron, coming back with his chest injury, whatever it was. So let's kind of go over what we know so far. Here's some of my notes. I started taking notes throughout the game. We'll kind of go through them. Let me just kind of check here and get my my windows here so I can see where the chat is. Here's the chat for YouTube over here. And then, okay. So, and let me go through it real quick and see if we have any good questions to start off. It's usually a nice way to start the show is by tapping into what you guys want to hear first. So get out there and ask some questions. There's always the super chat, thing as well. We'll get you to the top of the chat here. Big shout out to Gigolo Puff, who is out there still moderating this chat. Thank you so much. It's the one constant in all of our lives, no matter when or how he is there. So big shout out. Give him some props in the chat if you can to keep this chat nice and clean. Let's see here. Oh, and by the way, I can't wait to do the breakdown of this game. I'm also going to do a breakdown focusing on the Sixers and all their three-point shooting. They're not a good three-point shooting team, but they lit it up against the Bucks. And I went through those threes, and, there's a little bit of systemic stuff I saw, a little bit of kind of on fire stuff too. So we're going to look at that and keep it kind of focused to see if we can't get some more answers into whether or not it's a real serious problem for the Bucks or not. But it has been a thing where they don't defend the three-point shot very well, but it really hasn't affected their defensive rating, and they certainly made the playoffs and had fantastic records the last couple of years. So it's interesting to find out if it really even matters. Let's see here. Anything on the chat I can answer really quickly here. LeBron never shows up on big moments. No clutch gene from Daniel. I disagree with that. I think he's shown up plenty of times and certainly deserves his status as best player of this generation. Kuzma had 15 in the first quarter, shooting 5 for 7, then went 3 for 10. Oh, that's a good observation. In fact, even after I think he was 6 for 10 in the first half overall, I believe, if memory serves. And I think he had at least 1 or 2 more shots after that. So he kind of, leveled off, regression to the mean. But man, if he can do that, if Kuzma could be that guy that can, nail some spot-up shots, and then also he created a couple free throws off of a drive after the play had kind of dissolved, that's what they really need, and that's what they're missing. So if he can do that and, be active on defense and do some things there, okay, and certainly have more of an impact on the offensive end anyway to balance that out, then Lakers have to be favored to some degree to be the favorites to win the whole thing. Patrick Beverley, full disclosure, I am also a fellow Chicago guard, and we all grew up with that mentality that he has. So I recognize how I used to play that way, believe it or not. I used to be total, mad dog crazy, swiping at everything, being extra physical. And that's just kind of how we rolled over in Chicago. So love to see that from him. Give me a little shout out to make sure everything sounds and looks good. Make sure the stream looks good. I'm going to head over to Periscope real quick. Hey, Periscope is even working in my browser right now. I get some good comments there. So to get back to Patrick Beverley, he's the guy that every coach would love to have on your team, especially when he's shooting, close to 40% from three, like he had been for several years before this year. And it might be worth diving in to look at what's going on and why he's still only shooting like 32%. He's really struggling, and they're leaving him wide open. He's getting good looks. He's just not quite, getting them to go down. So the other question is, am I even working on Periscope? Because I'm looking at myself. I only see, it's working. Never mind. Okay, so let's go to Periscope. I see some interesting questions here. What's your opinion on Montrezl Harrell in this game? That's a great question by Alpha Dan. I think he struggles a little bit with the length that they have when he's out there. If JaVale and Anthony Davis and LeBron are out there, that's really tough for him. I don't think I have to look at how the matchup. I don't think he was out there for all three of those guys at all, but he clearly was struggling to some degree with all that length. And that's because he's short. He's probably like 6'6", maybe 6'7". He's sort of that Draymond Green thing. So he really had a problem because he's scoring 19 a game normally, and we're going to go through the box score in a minute or two, and we'll see what he ended up with. But the point being that he seemed to me to struggle early on with all that length. The other thing I thought that was interesting, though, was that they weren't doing a ton of like pick and roll with him. They were getting good switches where he'd get a mouse in the house guarding him, and he would try and post up down low. And give credit to the Lakers. They were doing a decent job of being physical all the way around, in fact. I thought the first half was really key for the Lakers in the defensive end. They were so physical with the Clippers that they were having trouble, getting their cuts and making their nice, beautiful, 21 offense, pistol offense in action work really well. So I thought that was a really good credit to, Frank Vogel, who all year long has really coached up this defense and got him to do what he needs him to do. So I felt like, Harrell, can wear you down eventually. A quick look at the box score in 32 minutes. He actually did get 18 points. He got to his average. It was somewhere in that end of the third quarter. He finally kind of got some post up, some rolls, and doing his thing. Now, what really hurt the Clippers for most of the part was Lou Williams. Went 1 for 6, couldn't really get a shot off. They were really focused on him. And so we got to talk about matchups for a minute, because that's where both of these teams have so many weapons. So LeBron has to be really frustrated having to be guarded by Kawhi Leonard to start. And then at some point, they'll throw Paul George on him. They can put JaMychal Green, who is like his size at least. And, we keep seeing, I'm not going to get on the train of like LeBron is washed. He's not. He's still having one of his best seasons probably of his career. But at the rim, when you watch some of the shots he doesn't finish anymore, those are the clear indications that he's not elevating like he used to. He doesn't have the same explosion. Guys who are more athletic than him are making it really rough down there. So, that would wear on him. I know he's probably dealing with whatever the injury was too, so that didn't help. But he missed his first 7 shots. He ended up, LeBron ended up 9 for 24, which really hurts them. Now, he probably would never do that again in a game against them, and so that will, in a close game, a couple more buckets means a win for the Lakers. But all I can tell you is that it's got to be frustrating for him, wave after wave of good defenders that can guard him one-on-one. And because he's shooting so poorly from the three-point line, they're going to give him a lot of room, and he was taking them and not making them. And then he's got to be a little bit worried about the free throw situation. Now, I need to check. He's got 38 minutes, almost 39 minutes for the game. I am 99.9% positive he started the fourth quarter, was in, and he might have even played the end of the third. And I also am just about positive he didn't come out. So to play the entire fourth quarter like that, and then he misses a crucial free throw that would have cut the lead to 2 with 30-some seconds left, short, indicates to me that Vogel's got to do a much better job managing those minutes so they can keep him fresh, because he did open the fourth quarter with a big burst of energy. So you kind of sense that was going to dissipate and he was going to get tired. So they needed to find him that 2-minute little stretch somewhere in there where they could have gotten him some rest. And I believe they had a 5 or 6 or 7 point lead midway through the fourth. There was a chance to do it for a minute, and they didn't do it. And I think they paid the price down at the end there. So let's keep going. I'm going to head over to the Periscope and see what else we have here. Why did Paul George suck? Alex Riancha 1 asks. Paul George didn't suck. I mean, he actually did nicely, I thought, on defense. He was active. But you're right. He was 5 for 18 from the field. I didn't think I even realized he was that poor. For 17 points. Now, one thing I noticed I thought was a troubling thing on the Clippers' offensive side was you have their best lineup, and they mentioned it on the broadcast, is probably going to be Shamet, Lou, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and Montrezl Harrell. So you have 3 closers, like they said. But they were running a ton of horns and putting Lou on the elbow. So you have Kawhi bringing it up, Lou on the elbow, and then the only place they would put Paul George was in the corner, and that left him as a spectator. Now, they tried to make up for that a little bit later on, like deep in the fourth, by giving him an ISO, I believe, or 2 on top, maybe a pick and roll there. But it did leave Paul George for several minutes not being involved. And they really need to be able to figure out some more actions that involve those 3 players together, Lou, Paul George, and Kawhi. We saw this with Bosh, Wade, and LeBron in Miami, and they actually have this in their offense where you would see like, maybe Wade, forgetting exactly what it was, but some version of maybe like Wade ball screening for LeBron, and then Chris Bosh flare screening for Wade, something like that. Or there's some sort of a high post thing. I'll have to go back in my mind and archives and try and find it. But the bottom line is you're getting all those 3 players involved in the same action. Impossible to stop. And that's Doc Rivers' conundrum he's going to have to solve, because they have to figure out a way to get those guys moving together and not just, alienating one of them to be standing in the corner waiting, and hoping that maybe they get a catch and shoot or something. I just don't think it's maximizing what they have. But either way, they are deep, and I have to imagine the bench still, the Lakers bench still outscored the Clippers anyway. But it's like the Clippers have so many options, and they're so varied with what they can do with their lineups. Lakers too. So it's really going to come down to the Kuzma went off, in that first half. It gave him that lead. And like, who's going to be that guy in each of these games going forward into the playoffs that's going to give them that edge? Because you're generally going to figure what the AD and LeBron are going to give you, and then what Kawhi and Paul George. However, defensively, I feel like the Clippers do have the advantage significantly on that end. And there was a moment where I noticed they were catching LeBron. They would high ball screen with the center, and LeBron was kind of the next guy in line of defense, either on the strong side or the weak side. And they were getting buckets that way. Either LeBron was rotating or not effective that way. And that's something you got to keep your eye out for. Now, of course, in the playoffs, LeBron does change the intensity level of his defense. But sometimes it might not be there anymore, and he might not have that same ability. The foul trouble probably hurt him a little bit, where he wasn't as aggressive as he could have been on defense. But overall, just a really good, entertaining game. Finally, we're getting some more of those. Let's go over to the chat and see what we have over on YouTube here. Clippers can be beat when the game slows down. Good win, though, from Dwayne Walks. I don't know. To me, the Clippers have such a varied attack. They could go slow and walk it up because they got guys like Lou who, it's hard to figure that out. They had him pounding the ball on top and kind of running a traditional point guard role while they were doing some floppy stuff. And that's got to disrupt his rhythm. He did get that one fading to his left of the baseline with, I think, Anthony Davis closing out on him. And I thought for sure that was going to go in, and then he just kind of go off. Didn't happen that way. Credit to the Lakers defense and their focus on him. Let's see here. Anything else? Easy win. Clippers too good. Default McGee. Okay, they are very, very good. These are the 2 best teams I've seen. Everyone else, I feel like this year. By the way, the Clippers haven't sustained this level of play obviously all year long. But when you see them do it like that, that is what I've been talking about since before the season started, about why they should be favorites to win over the Lakers. Let's see here. This is the best game of the night for sure, Ibrahim. John Ooh, can I hear you shaking your head? Obviously, I can hear everybody shaking their head. By the way, Clippers up by 3. The clock underneath 10 seconds, and they didn't take a foul. And LeBron was holding it, like begging Patrick Beverley to foul him, put him on the line. I would have taken my chances with the way LeBron's been shooting free throws anyway, and you certainly don't give him a chance to tie the game. Meanwhile, he makes that incredible play, and I want to hear your opinion on this. On the replay, in the real time, Patrick Beverley strips the ball. Every other time in the game, for sure, it's out of bounds on Patrick Beverley, no problem. But on the replay, it's as clear can be that it actually goes off of LeBron's fingertips. Is that a problem for anybody? It's not for me. That's why they do the review. And whoever touches it last, that's who it's off of. And now, which is funny because I had a problem in the NCAA title game last year with Virginia. They got the ball back on a different kind of play where the guy swiped, and that's always off the defense until the replay comes in. But I don't know. This one didn't bother me. This one felt like on a strip on a jump shot. It's off of LeBron, no problem. How did Anthony Davis? Oh boy, did my pop out 3? Oh, it froze and then it jumped. Let's see here. Maybe I can go find that really quick if I do a little search. How did Anthony Davis? No. Okay, sorry. I was going to read that question and it just completely froze and then jumped. But I'll find it. Maybe ask it again and I'll get there on the YouTube side. By the way, how are you guys enjoying this? Are we having a good time so far? Let's see here. Tom Ford thinks I suck as a coach. Okay. Thanks, Tom. Merry Christmas. Let's see. Green blew the lead down the stretch. Would that be Danny we're talking about? Let's see. Or Jamichael? Who are we talking about here? Let's see. Dante the Great. Lou Williams was horrible. PG-13 was lukewarm. Clippers were just a bit. The Clippers still beat the Lakers. So they were just two players today on the court. Patrick Beverley and number 2 Lakers are overrated. Okay. Again, when you have a guy like Patrick Beverley on your team, it gives you a huge advantage in these kind of games. Okay. Let's see here. What's my opinion? Okay, I talked about that. What's wrong with LeBron? He just doesn't seem to be aggressive and take them over the edge. Prasant, good question. Again, I think he might have been dealing with a little bit of chest injury still, and that could hurt when you breathe and you turn, you rotate, all sorts of different things. And he's also just getting older. Like this is the decline, and it's not, anything to be ashamed about for his side. He, will have to learn how to manage that and then figure out how to ramp it up maybe in the playoffs when he needs it. So what happened to the Lakers? For closer, they had the lead. Where did they go wrong? Well, let's go to my notes and see what else I have here in the fourth, because it got kind of crazy. I felt like the Clippers picked up their energy on defense, and so there were some wild sequences where there was a lot of deflections, and the Lakers just couldn't sort of respond to that. In my mind's eye, I feel like I'm going to notice that their offense kind of stagnated a little bit. Now, I know they went down to Anthony Davis down in the post against Harrell, and that's not a bad matchup. It does leave everyone else standing around the perimeter watching. They had Rondo out there at some point, and that should be an instant double team off of him. And they didn't do that, and they got away with it. Anthony Davis hit one face up, and then I think he missed 2, other ones, other post ups. So that's not a good points per possession on those 3. So that worked out anyway for the Clippers' favor. I would have just doubled them anyway. But then again, I was watching the Houston game too, and they were doubling Harden so much that I just sort of like expecting everyone to double every time now. Let's see here. But I think what happened was I think LeBron ran out of gas. He had really good energy. He went on that run. Remember, he was shooting really poorly, and he made a 3. Then he made a long 2, and then I think he even got a steal or whatever, and maybe an assist. So that was what gave them that burst of energy in the beginning of the fourth. And I think he couldn't sustain that, and that really hurt them. He didn't make those plays after the 6-minute mark of the fourth quarter. Even the thing where, Montrezl Harrell out-muscled LeBron for an offensive rebound down the stretch. It was like, oh my God, when did that happen? And then LeBron just stole it right back from him. So that's LeBron in a nutshell. Oh, we have a super chat. Let me see if I can find it here. If I click on it. Carlos Serrano, thank you for the super chat. What should the Lakers take away from this game as lessons to learn? Some positives. God, that's a great question, because that's what a coach would do. That's what Frank Vogel's going to have to do on this one. Well, obviously, Kyle Kuzma has to be the biggest takeaway they take from this, because if he can get the confidence from this and realize he's like, yeah, you can be an aggressive shooter and knock those down. Now, we haven't seen him be consistent like that for a while. But I would certainly be really encouraged by that. Again, like JaVale only played 15 minutes, but I like his energy. He did very well out there. I mean, look, he had 5 blocks in 15 minutes. It was insane. Although I think he had 2 on one play, but still, that energy that he brings is really helpful for them. Dwight Howard also, he was okay, but I think he got a little bit caught up in the intensity of the game and was trying to be like too physical, and that just sort of disrupted some of the flow, I feel like. What else can the Lakers take away that was positive? I mean, Anthony Davis, 8 for 17, 24 points, 6 boards, 3 assists. He kind of, did he feel that impactful to you? Not to me so much, right? He just sort of was, and that's sort of who he is. That's why he can't necessarily be the best player on your team. So that would be one thing I think wasn't helping them. They didn't get. Their bench scoring. I kind of want to take it here. Besides Kyle Kuzma, 25, KCP 13. That's pretty good. 38, 47. Rondo had 7 and 5 assists. So Rondo does his thing. They're deep. They don't have to hang their heads. This was a great Clippers team playing at home, kind of, not really. But by the way, how startling was that? It wasn't startling. It was a Lakers home game. But man, do they. Is that team always for the Lakers? Even I bet you when the Clippers have their home game against the Lakers, I bet you the crowd is still going to be much more pro Lakers when they play. So let's see here. Happy birthday wants to know Marcus Morris or Iguodala. Are we talking about for the Lakers? Yikes. That's actually a good question. I think I might take Iggy. You know, the pedigree, the experience, the rings. I think Iguodala might be the person they want. I don't know if they can even get him or not. I kind of lost track of what his status is. Do I think the game was rigged? I am works. No, I do not. You know, you have Scott Foster reffing. It's going to be wild no matter what happens. Let's see here. LeBron shouldn't be shooting 12 threes and the other team center is 6'9", 6'10". Yeah, but then, like I mentioned, he's not finishing as well, big body Rico, you know, at the rim. And I think that he's bothered now by those athletes. Let's head over to the Periscope. Let's see here. I am afraid, let's see here. Do you think PG and Kawhi can have good games together consistently? Yes, I do think so. I do feel like it's Doc's burden. And, you know, here's the problem. Because Kawhi is going to be load managing, they're going to have less games together and less time on the court. So it's going to be a challenge. But they should be able to figure it out. Armand Hill is a really good offensive mind as well on the staff. And I feel like, and then, you know, they have the other coaches. Oh, now I'm actually blanking. Well, Sam Cassell. Those guys should be able to figure that out, but they also going to need time and reps during the regular season to develop that. So I think that they can, but keep your eye on that because that's going to really give them the extra edge over the top. Dubs fan here, but Beverley was insane. Yes, he is. You gotta love Patrick Beverley in those situations. Let's see here. That foul on AD was an awful call by Hampton, 366, whatever. You know, it's kind of like, and I think Jeff Van Gundy made the point, if you're going to call a foul on the shooter when you don't let him land, then you kind of got to call the same kind of foul on the shooter when he's shooting a layup. Sort of. But I hear you. I wouldn't argue with you on that one if you wanted to get all upset and crazy about that being a call. I thought he traveled before, although I'm sure if I go frame by frame, I'll see some sort of gather, but it really looked in real time like it was a travel. So that whole play should have been wiped out. Danny Green, your boy Dave, Danny Green sent them downhill with all those horrible fouls. Yeah, Danny Green got caught with his hand in the jar a couple of times and argued them, which is just a bad look because when you saw like the replay, they were clear fouls and mistakes. Lakers don't have shot creators other than LeBron, AD, and possibly Kuz. Well, that's enough. You know, you throw Rondo in there that can work the ball and pass it and sort of penetrate. They have enough. I'm not really worried about that. That's an issue. Let's see. Do you think the Lakers offense needs to speed up? Seems like they burn a lot of shot clock. You know, it's interesting because I feel like in pace they're up there. I know they were up there last year. I got to check again. But, you know, it's a lot of that I think ends up being when they do those post-ups for like LeBron and AD. And that's just sort of the nature of those is it grinds to a halt. And AD is a better post-up player than LeBron. You know, I tweeted out one of his things where he just lowers his shoulder, just tries to turn, you know, the guy straight up and down. And there's some contact, he misses the shot. You know, there's no up and under, there's no subtle shot fakes, there's no dream shakes, anything like that to like get him open. I don't understand why. I feel like he's done that in the past. Lakers favorite laugh my out LMAO when they have a losing record versus winning teams. Okay. That's interesting. Is that right? I mean, they only played that? They've only had like what? Actually, now they have 7 losses. I'll have to check that and see. That's interesting. Let's see here. Any other questions? What is your all-time favorite NBA Christmas game, Chris Krieger? Wow, that's a really great question. I think I'm gonna have to turn that over to you guys because I don't know. My mind is swimming with games from all over the time at every time of year. I can't even remember anything right now about which game would have been Christmas. I'm sorry. Let's see. Tropical Gothic asks, do you think the Clippers need to trade for a point guard? No, because Kawhi does that same thing that LeBron does. And no, I don't think so. I think Beverley does fine that way. Lou kind of does his thing that way too. And then Paul George, they don't need it. And I think we're kind of moving in a different direction, right? Where you play the way the Clippers do, or you have this dynamic guard. It's interesting, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. For a long time, everybody wanted that guard. Now, I wonder if we're kind of moving toward more of a balanced attack. I don't know. Interesting idea. But I think the Clippers are fine. ISO Rubel, what shot-creating guard combo guard should the Lakers try to get? I think that the only guy they could get would be Iguodala. Would probably be the only guy that's even available they could try and get. Because I don't even know if trading works much to help them improve because they're so stuck with the rest of their contracts. But don't quote me on that. We'll have to get Eric Pincus in here to talk about that. Let's see here. What's your take on Jeff Van Gundy saying that the Mavs are an elite team? I think that they are. I mean, they pretty much should have been 3-1 without Luka. save for that ridiculous Raptors diamond in one press, of which I did a video. I think a lot of you guys must have seen. So then you throw on a guy who's going to be like the MVP, right? If the Mavs finish third in the Western Conference, then Luka Doncic has got to be the MVP in my mind. So you have an MVP on your team. They have KP and they have other guys, and they have a really nice team around them. They have a great coach. So yeah, I'd call them elite for sure. And they're sneaky elite. Like, I don't think I realized until recently that they are. Right now, I got to check right now if it's fourth. They were third or fourth anyway in the Western Conference. And, when they get Luka back, they can go on another run. So I'm really impressed with what they're doing. What's my opinion on Kuzma performance this game? Should they trade him for a shooter, Alpha Dan? That's a good question. I don't know. Because could Kuzma be that shooter? He just hasn't really been consistent overall in his career. So I don't know. I just don't think there's anybody else out there. I mean, who would they end up trading for anyway? I suppose he does have Kuzma does have value. So suggest some people in the chat, and I'll see if I can get down there. But this is great. I'm so happy to be back with you guys. I got to do these more. I'm going to make sure I do these more. I'll get some guests in here, too, to talk with me as well while we have these things. But, I'm just looking forward to now as we get into the new year, just more interactions with you guys. If you're not following me on Instagram, you better get over there because I'm doing a lot of fun stuff each day there. It's different than Twitter and different than YouTube a lot of the time. And we'll do some stuff over there with maybe some live shows there. So make sure you follow me over there. But let's keep going, shall we? We got time. By the way, what's going on in the other game? Anyone want to tell me the late game? Is it interesting? Lakers still have to figure out what their bench is capable of when LeBron and AD are out. Right. Coach Mendel, great point. And also, they have to figure out a better way of balancing, obviously, getting LeBron. He needs that rest in the fourth quarter. I got to check the substitution pattern, but we've seen it for a while. Like they did it with Dirk, where Dirk would come out after like 6 minutes in the first quarter. And that early pull there, adjusted everything else. It would give AD some time to be the man a little bit, and against the sort of the back half of the first unit, and then whoever comes in at that point for the other team. And then I think it would help them adjust how they can save LeBron at the end of the games as well. I don't know why more teams don't do that, but I think that would really help them. Let's see, Morales 11. Do you think the Lakers can beat the Clippers in a 7-game series? I think they could, but I would still favor the Clippers. Not just from tonight. I just feel like the Clippers have something. They have enough to defend the Lakers, and then they got all the firepower on their end too, and that would put them over the Lakers in my mind every time. So should the Lakers trade Kuz? I don't know. I mean, I just don't. Someone's got to give me a scenario where they can get a better player than that. I mean, because he can shoot. He showed it tonight, even though it's a little bit inconsistent. So I don't know. I don't think that they need to touch anything. LeBron doesn't drive at the end because he doesn't want to be at the free throw line. Oh, that's another good point, too. And his free throws, man, he's trying. I'll give him credit for that. His routine changes almost all the time, and he's getting closer to some things with rhythm, like as if he's understanding that notion, but it's all off. His feet are pointing completely in the wrong direction, both of them. Well, the left one is okay, but he's like pigeon. He's the opposite of pigeon toe. They're pointing out. It's crazy. He needs to fix the mechanics through the chain from the feet first, and then we can then work on a little bit more of his rhythm. He will straighten his legs early and then doesn't get any of that rhythm when he's trying to shoot with his arms. He does drift backwards a bit. It's a mess. The question is, do they trade Harrell? No, the Clippers better not do anything. They should keep everything that the way they're doing fine, and just hope they get enough reps with Kawhi and Paul George together while they're doing load management with Kawhi. Coach, why do you think ratings are down purely from a gameplay standpoint? Well, I did mention, it's mayorship earlier on in the broadcast that I found myself all year long just getting bored after 5 or 6 minutes. I kind of feel like maybe it's the style of play. It gets going up and down, like shooting a lot of threes, and the threes start missing. I just sort of lose interest, and I kind of start doing other stuff. I'll get up and I'll cook dinner, and I'll just, I don't know, watch other things. It's really strange. But it doesn't sound like it's that strange because I think a lot of people are doing that. Cord cutting could be a thing. Streams, illegal streams could be something. I don't know if it's like multi-millions of people who are moving away to do the illegal streams. but it's certainly nothing that I'm doing. The guys are like us on YouTube are doing stuff that's hours and hours, or a day later after the live show. That doesn't affect the ratings at all if you're listening to NBA. So I think that's the thing. We're in this weird time where the game is rapidly evolving and changing, and obviously it's the pace and the 3-pointers continues to rise. It will have to slow down at some point, and then we're going to have to get a couple of years where it's steady, but we're not there yet. And I think that once that gets steady, we kind of settle into that, then we can kind of get behind it. Now, the other problem is the Warriors having so many terrible injuries and this being as bad as they are now, it really hurts. The other thing I noticed is that you go look at the schedule on any given night, and of the 8 games that are played, 5 of them are both losing teams playing each other. And it's like, do I really want to watch that? I'm serious. It's weird. Every night, I feel like that happens to me. 5, 6 of the 8 games, over 70% of the games. And I have to imagine that's what everyone's looking at, going, it's still December. I don't want to watch those games anyway. And maybe they will, now that the NFL is getting over and all that stuff. So it's a real interesting thing. All right, let's get a couple more questions over in YouTube, and then we'll start to maybe wrap this up. But let's see here. Can we grab something? Luka never been. Let's see. If you hit threes, you win. It's interesting. I looked at this a couple of years ago, and I wanted to know what was the difference in 3 points made that could guarantee you a win. Like if you made 5 more threes than the other team, what's the likelihood you're going to win? And I thought for sure if you got to like 6 or 7, it's almost 100% guaranteed that you would beat the other team. And it turned out it wasn't that way. And I have to imagine it has stayed the same because teams keep shooting more and they're probably getting a little bit better at the 3-point shot. It has to be double digits before you're guaranteed to win. Now, that said, if you have an 80% chance of winning, that's pretty much guaranteed. And that was, I think, 7 or 8. And then if you hit 8 more threes than the other team, that's 24 more points from the 3-point line. You can't overcome that. There's just no way. So it's like if you're going to be a team that doesn't shoot threes well, they don't make a lot of threes, then you're going to have to figure out a way to stop the other team from making threes if you want to win. And I think if you watch my videos or you see me on my on-court stuff, obviously if you can deny middle penetration, because that's where you get the best threes when you get in the middle and kick it out. If that's your focus on defense, you can limit those threes. And if you do not help one pass away, you can also really limit those threes and keep that percentage down, plus challenging in the air. And this is the kind of defensive principles that I espouse at every level, and it really, really works. In fact, I have a library where you can be a monthly member, and I have a whole 8-part defensive system that I filmed, and it's awesome. I mean, in fact, I had filmed it, and I hadn't looked at it in a while, and I was going back and editing it, and I was like, I kind of forgot what I had said or forgot how we filmed it. And I was saying to myself, God, this is really good. So if you are a coach or a player who wants to improve your skills or coaching ability and knowledge, then you got to check out at bballbreakdown.com my monthly membership, because it's got so many videos, and I'm going to keep adding every week or every month more and more videos, and the library will keep growing. So check that out. Let's see here. Alex Gamboa, Harden is my favorite basketball player. Okay, bold move, because he's not very popular outside of Houston because of how he draws fouls. But I got to tell you, he is one of the most skilled players I've ever seen. Let's see here. Why Lou tried to shoot a 3 late in the 4th quarter instead of just running out the clock? Ooh, did I miss that while I was setting up my stream? I don't know. I'll have to go check and see what that was about. Let's see here. Why is Rondo playing crunch time minutes with LeBron on the floor? Now, I did notice that, and here's the one thing that I'm concerned with the Lakers about is when they do run lineups, and I think I've seen it a little bit, where they'll do like Rondo, JaVale, AD, LeBron, and I mean, God, if it's Avery Bradley or anybody else there, like that's no shooting. There's just no way they're going to get easy shots that way. Now, that may not matter because they're supremely talented at the top 2, but I'm really concerned because we've seen in the past that the real key for LeBron-led teams is that shooting that they need in the spacing. So they're going to have to be really, focused on those lineups and keep those guys out. And by the way, when you say it that way, now you realize, they do need a shooter, right? Well, I'm still thinking that Kuzma could probably be somewhere in that realm. Could be the guy who's enough of a shooter. Let's see here. Why did missed shots? Game was entertaining, Lakers. Anybody else? Let's see here. Good question. Armin debate. How can the Lakers approach crunch time? Seemed to me that they relied on AD mid-range game far too much. Well, yeah, I mean, AD doesn't really have. He's not taking that many threes. He might be taking 3 a game, I think. So that is his game. And you know what? I'm not gonna poo-poo that game. He's a really good mid-range shooter, and that's where he's most comfortable. So, but I do have a problem with these ISO post-ups. Late in the game. For some reason, it just kind of makes my spidey sense tingle a little bit. There needs to be more motion, and they need to make sure they can get a good mismatch for him down low. So the question then is AD on Montrezl Harrell a mismatch or not? I think Montrez won that battle, so it might not have been as much of a mismatch as they thought. And if you get a little bit more movement, a little more action, you'll force a switch, and then he'll have a guard, and then that's really easy. So I almost feel like those are the times you want to get it. But also, AD isn't really great at kicking out, if memory serves properly. And obviously, that's what you're going to want to get is him down low and then kicking it out for open threes. How do I think about the officiating, Zoke? It was the typical Foster, some really big head scratchers, but overall, they stayed out of the way. I think that there were times when both teams were really upset for not getting calls, rightfully so. And so, they let him play. They gave him a little playoff kind of whistle, and that was okay. I think it was fine. It didn't really have that much of an effect on the game either way. Let's see here. Terrell, Maryland, do you think that Harrell will be enough to slow AD down in the playoff series? It's a great question. Well, there's no question in a playoff series, AD is going to have several great games. You're not going to hold him down. So the question is it enough? Can they do enough? And I think he could get enough. I think he's enough to do it. Yeah. But just be prepared for monster numbers from him. Let's see here. Do the Clippers need to stretch big? No, the Clippers don't need to do anything. They're fine. I really feel like they're fine. Let's see here. Let's see. Any other questions? All right. Oh, am I at the end? Oh, guess what? Another frozen thing. Again, another hats off to Gigolo Pup over on the YouTube side because he's been cleaning up a lot of messages, and it's really great because these things can devolve on YouTube. How about this? Let's go over to any other good questions over on the chat on the Periscope. Let's see here. Knowing how Carmelo was playing when the Lakers have taken him. Carmelo isn't playing like that well, but I suppose anything more than just sort of or meh is good. I don't know. I don't know if that would have worked. And then you're talking about like Carmelo and LeBron and Dwight and Rondo. I think that they didn't need it. I think Carmelo is just fine where he is. Let's see here. Steph, KD not playing. Yeah. Oh, by the way, that's the other thing is with KD out and Steph out. That's another big one, a big blow. Do I like the idea of doubling Harden as a way to also keep him off the free throw line? Okay, that's the video I'm doing also. I'm going to do a bunch of videos. Okay, I'm going to try and get one done tonight or start it tonight. But stay tuned because I'm going to do a video focusing on what the Warriors did on Harden. And without question, they exposed, and I saw this in another game I broke down, and I'm blanking who it was. I'll think of it in a second, where they were doubling off of Harden. Doubling off of Russ. And Russ was really not doing well in those decision-making. Now, in today's game, when they were doing that, he actually got a couple nice dimes as like the short roller. But then they put him in the corner so they couldn't help off of him. And that was fine because they would help off with the big and then ignore Russ. And then Russ was shooting threes in the corner and bricking them. So I don't know. D'Antoni is not impressing me so much with the adjustments they need to make. Now, one thing that's going to kill them with those doubling of Harden is if Harden doesn't move after he gives the ball up. He literally just stands there afterwards, which is what he does when they don't double him too. And that kills it. It really does. And if he would just cut and move and get the ball back and attack, they wouldn't be able to double team him off at that point. And they also need to get him coming out of like pin downs and pistol action, pin down out of the corner into a handoff. It's really hard to double on the full speed that way. And if they do that, then they should have enough of the spread of the defense where they'll be able to get better shots. But right now, they really they're not doing well with that, and they should be better at this point because they've seen it enough times. So I'll do a video on focusing on that. I'm gonna do a video on the 3-point shots that the Sixers generated, who are not a good 3-point shooting team normally. I'm gonna do a video on this game. I think that's 3 in one day. That's probably pretty good Christmas presents for you guys, right? Let's see here. PG, the worst superstar in the clutch. He seems to fall in love with a 3-point shot. I don't know if he's the worst. First of all, is PG like a superstar? I'm not sure we can give him that, even though I love him. And it's been amazing to watch his progression into a top, 10 player, top 8 player, top 7. I lost the track of what number that is. But either way, I think he's been clutch. I think we've seen Paul George be clutch lots of times. So I wouldn't give him that label. Let's see here. Anything else before we start to wrap this up? Again, really great conversation with you guys. Love doing it. Hope you're doing it. And make sure, when you comment down low in the description, make sure let me know what you're looking for. I'm always listening to that and looking for new ideas for videos. Of course, they got to grab me as well. But a lot of times I'll see them. I'm like, oh, that's a really good idea. We'll put them on the list and we'll get to it. So really great stuff. All right, let's see here. Okay, Milorad Petkovic, last couple of questions. He said, Coach, do you think that Harden needs to add a post game? He seems strong. I did a video on this, if you might have missed it, where I showed his post-ups, and he's great at it, and they should do it more, and they don't do it hardly ever. And there's not a lot of sample size, because over the years, he just really hasn't done it much. But without question, they could do that. Now, here's the thing. We know that, aside from a drive in the middle and a kick for a 3, the best 3-point shots are when you post up and kick it out from the post. So why wouldn't the Rockets want to run that for that express purpose, to get kind of screens and splits on the outside, and then let Harden, who, if he faces up from 14 feet away, he's going to score every time. So it's not really a post-up. It's an ISO from 12 feet, right? So why wouldn't you do that? It's really kind of strange to me that they wouldn't have figured that out in time, especially now that they're trying to double-team him so much on top of the half court. It's almost a no-brainer. That'll be the focus of my video tomorrow or today, whichever one I do first. So I will try and even throw in a couple post-ups in there as an antidote for what they're doing. Okay, I think we're getting here, guys. This was awesome. If you hit me up on Twitter or in the comments below, we can keep the conversation going. But either way, awesome stuff. Really excited. This season's fun, and I have a feeling the ratings are going to go back up again. We're going to get more excited, interested into it. Twitter will change for me as well. I feel like it's been kind of a ghost town a lot these days, but not tonight. So strap yourselves in, sports fans. It's going to be a great ride as we get all the way through into the playoffs. It's going to be in April like that. So thank you guys for joining us. Great show. Awesome to be here. And don't forget, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel. We're a conversation. You in?